Welcome everybody to the Captive live stream. I've got my good buddy Darren Dyk here.
What's up, dudes?
Welcome, man. I'm so excited to have you on, dude. I have worked on so many great projects with you. For y'all that don't know Darren, Darren is very well known in the industry. He's an action sports, science, slow motion guy. His portfolio consists of working with Mr. Beast, Mark Robert, Zach King. The list goes on, really. I mean, give me a few other things.
Thanks for the glowing review here.
Yes.
No, it's always been fun to work with you guys as well, man. Captive is epic. We really appreciate you guys. But yeah, so I'm an action sports cinematographer. I've been a YouTuber since 2006. So I've been at it for a hot minute.
A long time. That's like 20 years.
It is. It is actually 20 years as of last month. So
wow.
February 12th,
You did text me. You were like, I've been on YouTube for 20 years. I remember that text, man. That's so cool.
Dude, it's so crazy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary.
I know, right? Happy YouTube anniversary. But yeah, so I've basically been on the platform for a very, very long time. I've played a lot of different roles all across social media. I've done everything from managing brand deals to doing, high-end cinematography, marrying a lot of like the high-end production world to the social media world very early before a lot of people were doing that. Yeah. And then also just kind of building up a lot of different channels. So like I have a lot of different interests and passions that I've kind of been a little bit ADHD with my career on. But I've been very fortunate to have been able to find a lot of success in all of those different categories and met and worked with a lot of really cool people. So,
well, I have a couple clips that I want to share that kind of encapsulates Darren as a whole. So maybe you can get us to full screen, Morgan, and I can show this video. All right, so this one is pretty epic. So sick.
Yep. So that was an ad that I made for a professional skateboarder named Cody McIntyre. He is one of the best to ever come from Texas. He's so good. He
came to the studio, right?
He did. Actually, we have a project that I'm going to try to put that together here in the next month or two. But we actually have something we shot in here at Captive. But that was an ad we filmed for his company for Thrasher. So that actually played on Thrasher's website for a little while.
Awesome. So Darren has been in the action sports industry for quite some time, but his skills in the actual content creation and commercial space with slow motion work is incredible. And so, Morgan, if you want to take us over to the other side again, I got another cool clip for us to play. This is a series of clips that you got to put together that I asked for today, actually. Yeah. So thank you for providing all this stuff really quickly. So here's the clips, Morgan. If you want to put us up there and boom.
Yeah, we filmed this one at 10,000 frames per second.
10,000 frames a second.
So we did that for a demonstration for Nanlux lights.
Uh-huh.
They have lights that do not flicker into the millions of frames per second. So
That's real fire back there, right?
Yeah, that is real fire.
I mean, if there's fire and Darren's on it, it's gonna be epic.
Yeah, so that right there is 100,000 frames per second. That was
wow. How much light did that take, man?
We had, I think, 2 5Ks and then a couple 2Ks and then like one 1K.
Did y'all have to have like some special like generator to power all those lights, or are they like?
So we were working with I forget the name of the studio. It's up in Dallas. So they have like
that color.
They had all the power we needed for it. I know, right? That's super fun. Working with color powder is great.
Yeah, you get to really see all the particles.
This was a trip for me though, because working with lights that are able to film at those kind of frame rates, almost always you get flicker. Like I used to work with like the OG like aperture lights and like the first few generations of that. I think we maxed out at 18,800 frames per second before we started to introduce flicker. These ones we were able to crank it into there was one shot. I think we had 100,000 frames per second, but we were at a half of a microsecond for it's like 1/2 millionth of a second shutter speed, basically. So I don't know. It's
hard to think about, right?
Yeah.
So everybody that's watching the live on the vertical and on the long form, please ask some questions. We want to be able to give Darren the opportunity to answer some of these great things. We have his brilliant mind here right now. So I've got a series of questions, and some of the teammates have some questions. Alongside outside of just the slow motion work that you've done, you had mentioned, and I have known, that you've been in the YouTube game for a long time, with hundreds of millions, if not billions of views. You have created channels, you have made videos, you have partnered with others. I don't even know all the incredible things that you've done. Can you walk us through your journey a little bit?
Okay. Yeah, sure. I'll give you kind of just like a sequential fast version of me.
Love it.
So I've been a skateboarder since I think like 1998. I love skateboarding, and that's where I got into filmmaking in general, right? But it was just for me to like film myself and my friends for the most part. Other than that, I did like a little bit of like video game edits and stuff online. This is like 2003, 2004. But leading into 2006, YouTube happened. I started to post videos to YouTube, and they started to get some views over the next little bit. And then in 2008, there was a video that came out called Fully Flared.
Okay.
It was directed by a guy named Ty Evans, and it was co-directed by Spike Jonze. And the entire intro for this video, they basically had these professional skateboarders doing tricks in slow motion, and in the middle of their tricks, the obstacles that they were on would blow up.
Oh,
it was entirely practical effects too. Like there were actual explosions going on around them and on them.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind. And after that video, it was so well done. I was like, I want to do that with my life.
Yeah.
Right?
You want to explode stuff, film it in slow motion, and do flips and tricks over it.
Basically, yeah. So I saw that. I was like, okay, I want to do that with my life. And then I started to learn more about cinematography, started applying it to my skateboarding. In 2010, I started to take on some of my first like paid projects. So I actually got not direct. It was like a DP. One of the first ever paid skateboarding documentaries through YouTube.
Yeah.
It was actually never got released, but we spent like a month and a half traveling around the country, filming like a bunch of skateboarders all over the place. And yeah, like, so I basically, since then I've been very active in the YouTube space. 2011, 2012. One of the realizations I had kind of come to is that skateboarding doesn't pay very well.
Yeah.
Right. So making a career out of skateboarding, and especially as a skate filmer, it's hard, right?
Yeah.
So I started to kind of focus on other things. I started to learn other action sports, started doing more commercial work, film, TV. And there was a project that me and my best friend Brandon Baldwin started at that point. One was two of them actually. One was called Beyond Slow Motion.
Yeah, Brandon's been in the studio.
Yeah. And then Gizmo Slip. So Gizmo Slip was like a durability tests for iPhones.
Yes.
So if you've ever seen like an iPad wrapped up in silly putty hanging off of a 100-foot drop on YouTube, there's like a 90% chance that was us.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So from like 2010 2012 up until like 2016, we had gone, I think, up to like 170,000 followers,
wow.
building up, which was decent. It was not
Yeah,
bad.
at that time, yeah.
Not bad at all for that. And we got to work with a lot of cool people in that time. So I'd been working on slow motion stuff and working with Phantom cameras and working with a lot of cool people. But in 2016, Gizmo Slip took off. Like we're talking, we went from 170,000 at the beginning of that year to 2.5 million by the end.
Whoa,
YouTube subscribers.
That's a crazy jump.
Yeah.
How does something like that even happen?
Well, it was interesting because like on the internet, everything has to do with both timing, luck, and also how willing you are to kind of adapt your formats, right?
Yeah.
And we had been doing these durability tests with these iPhones for like, a number of years. And our format was typically, we would do them all very analytical. We would have a certain height we would drop them all from. The text on the thumbnails was very like descriptive of everything we were doing, the certain heights and the iPhone type and all this stuff. And it was very complex thumbnails and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was interesting content. It was useful information so people would watch it.
Yes.
But in that like end of 2015 into early 2016 time period, Brandon wanted to start kind of experimenting with different formats.
Okay.
And so he started to simplify a lot of the thumbnails and a lot of the titles. And he tried to make it so that like the very first thing you see, you both clearly understood what you were looking at.
Yeah.
And then you had some crazy question in your head about what was happening.
Yes. Okay.
Right? And so it didn't take a lot of processing power to think about it, right? So we simplified it. We took most of the text out of our thumbnails.
Yep.
We started to streamline how we would connect the videos together. So we started to try to focus on getting people to watch like in a series of videos all at once rather than just watching one video at a time.
Okay.
And so we started using like annotations and stuff in a different way. We did these little optimizations and it was just we caught on to the right trend at the right time, optimized things in the right way, and we made it easy for people to follow and made it easy to understand what the idea was, right?
Yeah.
If you're looking at a complex thumbnail with a whole bunch of stuff on it and you have to take time to read to understand.
Yeah.
Most people are just going to scroll, right? So we were fortunate enough that we stumbled on this format that people were really interested in and very easy to understand. And Brandon, one of the things he's really brilliant at is like whenever he sees that something might work, he's willing to just kind of drop everything and focus on it.
Yep.
And just try throwing stuff against the wall.
I can actually relate to that a little bit.
Yeah, right. And so he got really, really good at coming up with these ideas that like just the idea was really good and easily understood. If you see an iPad, a really expensive thing that's really in high demand, like being held over a big drop, you're like, is this going to get destroyed? And then you see something that might protect it, maybe.
Yeah.
But will it not?
Yeah.
It presents a question in itself before you even read any text at all.
Yeah.
You understand that there's like some sort of a will it or will it
Well,
not
this
survive.
this drives me into a question. I know you were telling me a little story about but then I got sidetracked. So, for those that are creating YouTube content right now, the game is a little different, right?
It is.
So maybe you could drop some gems for these viewers, like some techniques, some tips that you've been using over your career between all platforms, because it's not just about YouTube. You got to kind of be on all of them now, so you can cross pollinate.
Yep.
So drop some gems for these guys. And any logistics or like ideas that you do for like taking one video and breaking it down, or what's your strategy?
Yeah, so there's a good friend of mine. His name is Derek Muller. He runs a channel called Veritasium, and he once did a video that broke down the relationship between audience, platform, and creator.
Okay.
And this format that he presented, I think, is applicable to just about any time that we've seen anywhere in the creator economy, like in the history of online media.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Venn diagram. You have creator, you have audience, and you have the platform.
Yes.
And they all have different needs, right? The creator, they want access to that audience.
Mm-hmm.
The audience, they want to be either entertained or they want to be informed. Most of the time, it's one of those two: entertainment or information.
Yeah.
And then the platform, they want to make money. And the way that they have to make that money is by connecting the audience to the either information or entertainment that they want.
Yeah.
And because of that kind of relationship, the people who tend to win most readily on social media are the ones who can take the information or entertainment that they're trying to present and formulate it around what that platform wants to prioritize.
Okay.
Right? And so on different platforms, they'll have different things that they want you to do, right? So if you're in long form content, you want to get people in for a really long watch time session on a single video, right?
Yeah. And what's a long watch time for you?
I mean, it really just depends on the video length. If you're doing the type of video, if you're sitting somebody down for a podcast, you want them to listen to more than half of it. If you're sitting somebody down for like a documentary, you're lucky if you get like a third of them through it.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, if you're on a Mr. Beast video, like they have a very high
Completion rates, right?
they do, because they have a lot of like they present new hooks several times throughout the video, and so they actually have a really high like finishing rate on their video where people will start it and they'll totally finish it. But it depends on the niche you're trying to get into. But the biggest thing that you need to keep in mind is that in order to be able to find what works, you have to be able to iterate. You have to iterate a lot of times to be able to find what works, because the way that you find what works is you try something and you get feedback. That feedback will come in the form of views. It'll come in the form of engagement. It'll come in the form of the analytics that you get on these different platforms. YouTube, I think, is the best analytics of any of the platforms out there. But the simplest one, if you're just trying to learn about engagement, is TikTok.
Okay.
Because they have a really, really good metric for being able to show you like how long a person's watching on an individual video. So if you're trying to get into the game now, two things you really, really need to understand is that A, it's going to take a lot of iteration, a lot of trial and error. B, it is a more saturated market than it has ever been.
So should people be scared about republishing things? Like,
no.
It's like, I don't want to annoy people, you know? I don't, maybe even like, cause for me, like I told the team, I was like, I don't want to see my face 12 times in a row. Right. Or I don't want to see the same video. Like, how do you like create these videos, and how are you doing this testing? Are you giving their times of spans or different, like, what's your strategy on that? Like, is there?
So there's a couple things here. So short, I'm gonna clarify. I said no earlier. It's totally fine to do reposting in short form. It does not matter in short form because the majority of the people who are seeing it are new people anyway.
Yeah.
And because it's short form, most people don't like address it to their memory in the same way that they do for a long form video. So like you can post something and then a month later they might have forgotten it.
Yeah.
Right. So the short form game is really more about capturing the attention now. It's like there's a very you're really trying to get like people's attention right now, but it's not really going to be like something that keeps them there long term very easily. Long form content, you don't want to do a lot of reposting.
Yeah.
So if you're talking making a 20-minute video, you don't want to go post that same 20-minute video again and again and again. But on short form, I have done a lot of reposting, but what I do every time I repost is I change little things about the video. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I first I have a project called Skate Physics, and Skate Physics is focused on ultra slow motion skateboarding. And when I first started making videos for Skate Physics, I thought that the most useful thing for skateboarders would be to see a trick in real speed, in medium speed, and in ultra slow motion. And then just like watching them in each different version would help them learn the trick. And I thought that's what would get people to stick around, right? Turns out I was kind of wrong about that.
Okay.
So I started posting these. I had this show the trick 3 times format early on. I'd get like between 1 and 5,000 views. It was like, it was enough, but it was enough to start with, but it wasn't much. What I did is I saw that the engagement was falling off early, basically after I showed the first trick the first time in real time. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to show the clip once. I'm going to show just the most interesting part of that trick in slow motion.
Yeah.
So you get the most hard to understand or the most intriguing element of it in slow motion. And then I'm going to speed it up and I'm going to let it cut off quickly, right? And the speed at which I started to get views afterwards was pretty astounding, actually.
Yeah.
Like I started to get like a very dramatic uptick in the amount of people who would watch something because the amount of, this is called watch time percentage. The amount of like, times that people would watch it. Some people would loop it. They'd watch it because it was interesting. They'd loop it again. And the amount of watch time percentage would be really, really high.
Being super engaged with it, right?
Right.
So like, wow, I got to watch that again. How did they do that? What was that? It was like fast to slow or slow to fast.
Yeah.
And then did I miss the end of it? You know, did it get cut off or did my internet shut off? You know?
Yeah. There was one, there's a couple of videos in particular that when I first posted them, I think one of them got like 3,000 views. And by the end of it, I had, by the first time I posted it, the second time I posted it, it got 300,000 views. The third time I posted it, it got even more. It was like 3 million views.
Wow.
So the
same clip just cut down
differently. Yeah, differently. Sometimes to a different song. Sometimes just to like I adjusted the ins and outs. One of the most dramatic other examples I have is there's a video I did of a guy named Jason Bastian doing a nollie kickflip with color powder on his board.
Yes,
right.
I've seen it. It's such an epic shot.
Thank you. The first time I posted it, I gave him a little bit of extra runway at the beginning, and I let him roll all the way off screen. The total length of the clip was about 7.6 seconds, I think.
Yeah.
And it got 6,900 views. It was like a little under 7,000 views.
Okay.
The second time I posted it, I only trimmed off a half second at the beginning and a half second at the end.
Wow.
It went from like 7.6 seconds down to like 6.9 seconds or something like that. It was like not a mass. It was very, very minor
Small
trim.
amount.
But what I had seen is I went to the analytics in that video and I saw that there was a fast attention drop at the beginning and a fast attention drop at the end. And I was like, those are the places that people are leaving. I'm just going to cut them out.
Yeah.
And the next time I posted it, it got 700,000. It was like 650,000, 650,000. So it was almost 100x difference just by trimming off a half second and posting it a month later.
Wow.
Right. But the other thing that helped a bunch is that, like, when you're talking about doing short form video, so this is a big difference between short form and long form. Short form video has a very high recency bias, right? A very short recency bias. So if you are engaging with something in a short form media, whether it's TikTok or it's Instagram or whatever, those algorithms tend to prioritize what you have watched in like the immediate past, right? The last like day, few days, at most weeks to like at most like a month. Like very rarely is it going to like focus on much more than what you've done in the last like couple weeks.
Okay.
So if you only have one or two contact points for people in that last week or two, then you might have already been kind of dropped out of like their interests, you know, their interest in the algorithm, right? So like they might not get, you might not get recommended to them. If you posted like a bunch of videos in that same kind of time period and you have more opportunities to have contact points, not only does the algorithm have more data on how people are going to interact with your content in the immediate future, but it also knows how the people who've already watched your content are going to engage with it right now. Because people's short form viewing habits change rapidly.
Yeah.
Their long form viewing habits don't change as quickly.
Yeah. So I feel like for me, even on my short form content, like I'm looking at things differently on the weekend. I'm hanging out with my wife and I'm doing things, and then I'll be at work and I'm finding I'm watching other things. Don't tell my boss.
Yeah.
Just kidding. No, but our habits are changing. But when I'm watching YouTube long content, I'm looking for like education, information, and that's I mean that changes as well. But it's a little bit of a less of a drift.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and you'll
Stays
notice
more consistent.
You'll notice that on YouTube, you'll get recommended videos that you haven't watched in like 5 or 6 years. You'll just get this video that's like a nostalgia video. They just throw you nostalgia bait.
Yeah.
Right. And that might be the exact same video, not a repost of it, right? Like it might be the actual video that you watched.
Maybe you never even finished it.
Right. Because on short form, maybe you'll see something you haven't seen in a while, but it's a new version of like a short of like a movie you've seen or something.
Yeah.
But like in the long form game, that evergreen nature of long form content is one of the things that you try to foster. So it's a longer game versus if you're in short form, I would almost recommend you do it in bursts rather than just like if you have the opportunity to post, 30 clips in a month and then have a break and then 30 clips in a month, I would sooner do that than I would to post once a week.
Yeah.
Right. And then just do it every week, once a week.
Yeah.
Unless you could really bring the quality on that, just because like the way that those viewer habits tend to shift is very different.
Publishing more consistently and keeping out the quality is better than saying if I publish once and I try to make a really good video.
So you want to keep the quality as best you can.
Of course you can. Yeah, of course.
But you want to find the balance of quality that allows you to post repeatedly again and again. And you need to understand that it's okay to get yourself to like 85 or 90% good. And then just that last 10% is what usually takes most of the energy, right? But there's two things that this is going to do for you. Besides like getting you more contact points on the algorithm or whatever, just that's one thing. But the second thing is that the more at-bats you have, the more chances you have to change your habits, to change your approach towards things, to fix your creative process.
Okay.
Right? So you have more chances to get feedback on what's working and what's not, what your audience likes and what they don't. And then you can also like fix and adjust yourself. Okay, it's like this, right? If you were to get 1% better at any skill every single day for a year, you're not 365% better. You're 3,778% better, because every single time you do a new thing, it's exponential. It's 1% better on your previous days, 101%, right? So it's very similar with social media. It's very similar when you're doing content creation, because it's a very niche kind of way of trying to engage with an audience, right? The more times that you have to be able to shift your approach towards how you engage with people, the more likely you are to be able to get good at it. And the quality increase is actually better a lot of times because your storytelling gets better. Your presentation gets better. You get more at-bats.
I love it. I love that scenario, that analogy is being up at bat, because you're not going to get the views unless if you publish, unless you create content. So you have to go out there and create it.
I want to throw one caveat out there. This is an important caveat though. If you post a lot of things and you don't change based on the feedback you get, based on that algorithm, based on those other mechanisms, if you don't improve each time you do something, then you're going to be stuck in a loop and you'll never get anywhere with it.
And you're just going to be stuck at your 1,000 or 2,000 views that you just kind of like, you're like, this is working for me. Obviously, I'm making views. I'm getting 1,000, 2,000. Eventually, this thing's gonna pop. But no, it's you know, the audience was obviously speaking to you and saying, this is not the video we want. You know,
correct.
So you can't fit a square peg in a round hole.
Exactly.
You know? So you gotta find the content for the place that you're gonna be publishing it on, the platform. So I do see we have a comment, but I also want to know, Nate, you've been studying YouTube for a couple of years now. So get your question ready. Morgan, I know you got one, but what is our comment down in the below?
What's your current favorite slow-mo camera if you had to choose one?
I'm going to give you 3 because there's 3 different uses for these. Okay. If I'm doing science versions of slow motion, if I'm doing like research type slow motion, I'm going for the TMX 7510 from Phantom. That one's pretty gnarly. I believe it's like $300,000.
I was gonna say it's a really something.
Yeah, they're really expensive. Like they're one of those ones that you're gonna.
That's just the brain. That's just the camera body. We're not talking about a lens. We're not talking about anything else.
Yeah, but like the reason why those things tend to be more expensive though is that they're used for high-end research. So like NASA is going to come in and buy 10 of them at once because they need to be able to like have a bunch of different angles of their rockets going off, or maybe the Air Force comes in because they need to have 20 different angles of like a
ballistic some
sort of ballistics thing happening. And it's infrastructural money. But like in terms of like cinematography, I think my favorite camera right now is still the FreeFly S5K.
Okay.
Yeah, that's because it's the one I have. The reason why I like it is because it's very good image quality, right? It's great. Like it's very small and compact.
I got a couple clips for us.
And it's also it allows for both continuous recording and buffer mode recording. So you can set a buffer of any amount of time, anywhere from 1 second to like 20 minutes or whatever, and it'll start a loop of recording that when you click the button, it will the previous number of seconds will be recorded, and it will start recording continuously forward.
Okay.
So you can rapid fire shots.
Yes.
The challenge with Phantom cameras is that you have to like capture and then save a moment, and it's like it's there's a downtime between each shot. There's a lot of downtime between each shot. So even though the Phantom's image quality is always better, like there's nothing better than Phantom in the world.
But
of slow
sometimes
motion.
like quick, fast. You know, when you're out in the field, like you don't have the time for it. It's like, oh, that plane is coming back around. Oh, we missed it. You know,
right.
Oh man, look at these shots from this right here. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, that was a fun shoot. Thanks for inviting me out on that one. This is the Landry shoot.
Yeah, this is from Landry's. This was a really fun shot, fun shoot.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love that little jibbing movement. Anytime you have slow motion and the camera movement, it just makes me so excited.
And you'll notice that there's like highlights that are kind of clipping in the fire on this one. That's probably like one of the bigger differences you'll find between like the S5K and like one of the Phantoms, especially like the Phantom Flexes.
The dynamic range.
The Phantoms will have more dynamic range.
Yeah.
So there's less dynamic range than the S5K. But again, the fact that you can just rapid fire and get so many shots means you can get more stuff done in a day, especially if you're on like really quick timelines. Or if you're shooting an event. Event's like another good example.
That's a great photo right there. Like, look at that. That's so cool.
Thank you.
All right, Nate, you got anything for us?
I was just curious, since I know you started multiple series, multiple social media endeavors, do you study a niche maybe before you go into it, knowing that you have the opportunity to get views and you can just knock that out of the park, or is it something you're already interested in and then maybe just consider?
If I am making the project for myself, like if it's going to be like one of my personal projects that I own, it's definitely going to be something that I already know relatively well. So like in the world of action sports, I've been doing skateboarding forever. I mean, it's very easy for me to jump into that world because I know it so well. Similar with science media, because I've been doing slow motion for so long, I just by inference picked up a lot of good habits for because I was just around like rocket scientists and physicists and like all kinds of amazing people, just learning about this stuff. So when it comes to science communication, I was actually very good at that. I actually ended up having 2 seasons on a TV show called Street Science, which was a Discovery Network show. And basically, I was filming cool stuff in slow motion, but then they would have me explain what was happening, right? But that only happened because I had a lot of experience already, both being on camera for YouTube with Gizmo Slip and some of these other things, but also because I have been around science so much and I've been learning so much, and I have just a mentality of always, I fixate on things sometimes a little bit and just like over research things. So sometimes I'm reasonable in being able to take information and distill it down.
Okay, so when like, has there been any like a dropping the iPhones, for example? Did you realize maybe at some point you're like, hey, looks like it's getting a lot of views. I know I can do this better than what I'm seeing out there, or has there been any instance like that?
Yeah. So with Gizmo Slip in particular, that was largely Brandon Baldwin's brainchild. And he was very, very good at knowing what were the pain points that people wanted to know about, which kind of like durability tests would be most useful to people. And then also just like when he started to really blow up, when we started doing the weird tests, he was really good at coming up with ideas around that stuff because he'd spent so much time thinking about it.
Yeah.
For me, with like my skateboarding, for instance, or skateboarding or my Beyond Slow Motion accounts, those are the things that are like my projects. I already spent so much time in action sports that I knew a lot of the ins and outs of how what was interesting from like a movement perspective. But I also had spent enough time on like Reddit and like, not, it was at 9gag, I think it was, or something, a lot of these old like this like meme websites. I was very good at marrying ideas from like the world of like memes and fast, funny internet things into the world of high-end production. So like, for instance, one of my most viewed projects ever, actually still to this day, was in 2014. I filmed a video with a dog named Jumpy that does parkour. But like the idea was, I saw videos of Jumpy doing stuff online, and I was like, I know parkour athletes, I know stuntmen. I should go and get one of my parkour athlete friends to go and do tricks with the dog for the day. And so we just spent an afternoon filming.
That's so awesome.
With, we had the shots of like the dog doing tricks, Jumpy doing a backflip at the same time that Alex Duong was doing a backflip. He's one of my parkour friends. And that idea of like mirroring, like, oh, it's a person and a dog doing it together worked really well. I got 3 million views on YouTube, but on the freebooted versions of it, like where people took it and put it on Facebook, I think we got 350 million across those.
After the reposts and everything.
Yeah, or like instead of like just filming a bunch of cool tricks skateboarding, I mean, like, okay, let's go film skateboarding on fire in the middle of a thunderstorm. Right? Like it's not the mix that you would normally think about, but because it's all happening together and because we're doing it in slow motion so people can kind of understand it, that video did really, really well. Right?
Also sounds like you just have to be a little creative.
Yeah.
You have to think of outside the box a little bit when it comes to your ideas. So leaning into, filming the flames on a skateboard outside while it's raining, that probably that variation or that combination is not like a common one.
Right. It is a supply and demand thing. And I think that's important context for people. I mean, especially now that we're in the world of AI, right? Eye candy is easier to find than it's ever been. It's easier to find than it's ever been.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff that might have worked 10 years ago,
It's not the same now.
it's really not the same. Like people aren't as like surprised by it now. So you really do have to constantly like reevaluate. Okay, like so what do people have an oversupply of, an undersupply of? What do people want a lot of? And you find where your interests and skill sets are, and you kind of marry those things together. And then again, that old Venn diagram thing I was telling you about, you kind of apply all that into like what does the platform need? What does the audience need? And find a format that fits all of those things.
Yeah. Well, Morgan, do you have any last minute questions?
say, like, you were talking about analytics, and you said, like, even a number like 7,000, which, for YouTube isn't like a super high number. Like 7,000 views would be a marker or a point in which you can like look at analytics and make decisions.
Yeah.
What is like the smallest sample size that you think you could take a look at and actually like determine information? Because I know, like, let's say you get like 50 views in a video, like those habits aren't going to necessarily be like super informative because you don't have enough data. Like, you don't have enough.
I don't think you have enough data to make really super informed decisions on that front until you have probably into multiple tens of thousands or maybe even into the hundreds of thousands of views. As an aggregate on a per video basis, I'd say probably in like the 10,000 view range is where you start to get really good, useful information. Before that, you can get good information, especially if you're just looking at like attention rates, right? If you're just looking at where people leave, where people stay, you can actually get some pretty good information based on just a few hundred views. But like when you're talking about like where views are coming from, how it's engaging, like, what keywords are being useful, like where people are, what videos are recommending yours. And then also seeing like you get a different kind of data set the moment you start breaking into like the tens of thousands, and it's actually a whole different data set the moment you start breaking into hundreds of thousands or millions, because like the way that people work at scale is very different than how people work in small niche groups.
Yes. Yeah,
right.
Okay.
So, it depends on who you're trying to reach out to. Like for instance, we're working on a podcast right now for the energy industry.
Yep.
That is very, very small. Like in terms of like the overall amount of people who are watching it. Like I think in total, we've only gotten like 20,000 views total across like all the videos we posted.
That's a very niche market, but I feel like it's a lot too.
But because it's very niche, and because we're doing a high value thing, and because we're getting the right messages in front of the right people, it's led to a lot of like sales for the companies involved. Like it's a lot of opportunities and a lot of things that have happened out of that, because we're creating an environment that's a community, right? It's a community for that specific set of people. And you can apply this to art, you can apply this to sports, you can apply this to games. If you can deal with small audiences as long as you're good at forming community. Yeah. But if you're just trying to get massive audiences and you're not focused so much on the community, you're focusing on just getting a big audience, the mindset that you have to have is very different, and the kinds of ways that you have to tailor to that audience is also very different. So I don't know, does that answer your question pretty well?
That was exactly what I was.
So, sounds like you have to do a little bit of growth throughout this journey, right? Because you have to think, smaller to get that community building, and then it gets to that point where that community turns into a giant audience. A larger like the things that were entertaining your small community might not be the thing that's going to entertain everybody in the entire United States.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not a bad thing to have a small audience. It really isn't. The bigger thing is that you just have to know what your goal is, and know how to make sure that the people who do come into your ecosystem are getting the value that they need out of it, whether that's through community or information or entertainment, whatever it is. Yeah. You just want to make sure you tailor that accordingly. So
awesome. Well, everybody, I hope that you learned some awesome stuff from Darren. Guys, if you're looking for a slow motion guy, DP, fire, explosions, YouTube, I know you even do some consulting when it comes to the YouTube side. Please reach out. This guy is the man. He is a genius when it comes to dissecting all this data. You have always
I'm getting glazed right now.
You've always like blown my mind when it comes to all the different contraption things you've done over the years with us. So I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate you being on the show, and I'm so excited for the more crazy, cool, fiery things that we're going to happen in the future.
Well, thanks for the kind words, man. I appreciate it. And I always appreciate working with you guys too. You guys do awesome stuff out here too. So it's mutual. It's mutual.
Awesome.
So.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see y'all next time.